Hi gang! 8.4 is solving rational equations. So equations that are fractions. Alright, the first step here that you want to do is factor anything you can in the denominator. So I'm going to factor this difference of perfect squares. Now this step I'm going to do right now, you're going to forget to do here and there, but please try to remember to do it. It is important. You have to figure out what the domain of this problem is. So for instance, remember you can't divide by 0, which means that p can't be 5 or negative 5. So p cannot be positive or negative 5. And the reason why you want to take note of that is because when you get your answer cannot be either of those values. If it is, you have to throw it away. Okay? These values are not allowed. Okay? So try to remember the beginning to note what they are, because sometimes you'll find they'll come out as an answer and they cannot be. And you have to throw them away. Alright, so the LCD, so now I'll do the LCD here. So the LCD of this problem is p minus 5, p plus 5. Basically, the domain restriction will come off of the LCD. Okay, so let's balance this. Now, I'm going to teach this the way the students always ask me to teach it. I didn't used to teach it the way I'm showing you right now. I used to just multiply across by the LCD and cross out the denominator. But the students unilaterally across the board prefer this method, so I'm going to teach it this way. So what I'm doing is I'm balancing the fractions like I would in chapter 8.2, but once all the denominators are the same, since it's an equal sign, it has what we call left-right balance, so you can take the same thing away across. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, since all the denominators are the same, I'm going to take away the denominators from everybody, which means I'm taking the same thing away from everybody so it's still balanced, which leaves me with just the numerator. So the numerator is 4p plus 5 plus 7p minus 5 equals to 18. Alright, so if you like that way of solving this, you just get all the denominators the same and then you can cross them out. If you don't like that technique, you can multiply everybody by the LCD and cross out the fractions. That's the other way to do it. Alright, now I'm going to solve this. And I just want you to note as you're solving this, as you're solving it, it could come out to be a quadratic or linear equation. So I can see this is going to be linear because I have no p squareds anywhere. So what I'm trying to say is that the answer could be 2 quadratic or the answer could be 1 linear. This one's going to be linear. There's just going to be one answer. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms. So this is an 11p minus 15 equals to 18. I'm going to move the 15. 11p equals to, that's a 15. Alright, 33. I'm going to divide by 11. Alright, so because this was linear, it only gives you one answer. If this was quadratic, it will most likely give you 2 answers unless it's repeating. So at the very end, you have to remember to do this, and I know this seems really bizarre, but you have to remember to look back and make sure that your answer is not one of the restrictions. Okay, and it's not, so I'm good. This is actually the answer. P is 3. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, first step again is to factor. Alright, then you want to figure out what the domain is. So you cannot, anytime you have a fraction, you cannot divide by 0. If I make this 6, I'm dividing by 0. If I make that 6, that's not a variable. Okay, So B just can't be 6. All right, I'm going to go with the LCD now. Now the LCD is 2 and B minus 6. You don't want to repeat things. Like if there's a 2 here and a 2 here, you don't want to repeat it. You don't want to say 4. Okay, you don't do repeats. You don't do photocopies. You just do like a representative. It's like the United Nation. If there's a 2 in the crowd, then you need a 2 in the United Nation. It just represents what's in the crowd. Okay, let me balance now. So this has both. This needs a 2. This needs a B minus 6. All right, I'm going to cross out the denominator. I'm also going to change the order. I don't like the order I wrote that in. All right, everybody has the same denominator, so I cross it out. Now, I'm going to pull this 2 in front and write it like this, because you're multiplying this whole thing by a negative and a 2, so you might as well just do it in one shot, a negative and a 2. So now negative and a 2 to both of these. Now I can see, if it wasn't clear before, you can see it now. This is going to be quadratic, which means you're going to solve it differently than you would solve a linear equation. Right? A linear equation, you get the variable on one side, the number on the other. A quadratic equation, you solve it like we did in chapter 7 at the end. I want to say that was 7-4, 7-5, 7-4-ish. Quadratic, you solve this by factoring. All right, let me just combine before I do too many other steps. 1 minus 2 is minus 1. Negative 2, negative 4 is negative 6. All right, so since this is quadratic, you want to solve this by factoring, which means you want to set it equal to 0. So you're going to pull everything to the right side. So it's solved differently depending on what degree it is. Negative 6 plus 1. Alright, so now I'm going to factor this. Has to multiply to a 6, add to a negative 5 because the leading coefficient's a 1. Alright, so I'm getting B is 2 and 3. Did you remember what I said? Oh, if I may have skipped this step here that you guys wanted to see. So you're using the zero product rule, so you're going to say B minus 2 equals to 0, B minus 3 equals to 0, right? This where you set each of these equal to 0, and then you solve it. Right, that's where I got this. Now, did you remember at the end that step I said was really important, where you look at your answer and you make sure it's not a domain restriction, okay? You make sure it's not a domain restriction. And it's not, so we're good. So this is the answer. All right, I'm going to do more in the next video, and this section also has what we call literal equations at the end, which we need to do as well. So there's actually 2 topics in this section. I'll probably just do one more of these. I'm sure you guys are picking up what I'm doing. All right, catch you. Bye-bye.